Friday morning and welcome to Vlogmas Day 2. Unfortunately, I don't have any yarn to open today, but good news, my Fiber Nymph Dyeworks Holiday Countdown collection has now cleared customs and has moved to the next facility. So I am hoping that I should see it sometime next week. In the meantime, let's find out what my David's Tea Advent has to offer me today. So day 2 is over here. Today's tea is sweet potato pie. I've never had sweet potato pie, but I'm guessing maybe it's kind of like pumpkin pie. Let's find out what this smells like. Definitely has a bit of spice in it and something that looks like maybe a bit of ginger there. Can you see right there? Let's find out what's in it. Here it is, sweet potato pie. It's a black tea. In fact, it's 100% elephant approved black tea. So I'm not really sure what that means. I'm gonna guess it has something to do with how it's grown, as in, following good practice. Pecans, yum. Rock sugar, cinnamon, butternut squash, sweet potato, marshmallows, nutmeg, ginger, allspice, natural flavoring. So, yeah, it definitely has that spiciness to it. I really like those kinds of teas. I like various kinds of chai. So, again, though, this sounds like more like an afternoon tea than a morning tea to me. So I'm gonna have some of this afternoon. And oh, I have a pumpkin scone in the freezer that I think I'm gonna pull out to go with it. Right now I am drinking some Irish breakfast tea, but it's not from David's Tea, it is from Granville Island Tea Company. And it is delicious. So yesterday I had this grand plan that I was going to knit on my December socks, both pairs, all day. It didn't turn out quite that way. I ended up with an idea for the Vlogmas, an idea for the Vlogmas episodes. And so I spent a good chunk of my day doing some recording and editing and getting things lined up for all the future episodes. And so it wasn't until about 5 o'clock that I finally wound up my new yarn from Sweet Fiber. Looks like this wound up. And rather than just doing a plain sock, I've been doing a lot of plain socks lately, I decided to look for a pattern. And I forget what the name of it was. I'm just gonna dig out the label. It had something to do with snow and trees. Yeah, snow and spruce. So I wanted a sock with maybe a tree motif on it. So I went looking and actually found one in my favorites that I'd obviously been drawn to at some point. They're called Evergreen Socks. The pattern is by Madeline Gannon and she is Little Mount Knits. So they look like this. So as you can see, there's just like a pine tree motif that goes all around the cuff. Now, these have a fairly short leg on them. I like my legs to be about 7 inches before I begin the heel, so I am going to make them longer, but I am only going to do one tree motif or one repeat of that around. I won't put more trees on it. So I thought it was a good blend of plain but a nice simple pattern, but then once I'm done with the trees, it's just plain knitting. So this is how the yarn looks knit up, which is kind of what I suspected. The way it looked in the skein, I thought it might micro stripe, and it does very nicely. So last night I did get both cuffs done, and I put my new stitch markers. I put one on each one. You're supposed to divide the sock up into 4, so I just used a regular marker on the back, but I used my couple of my new ones on the fronts. So, and then I did, the first 3 rows are knit. So I did knit around 3 times. Now I'm ready to make some trees. So I am definitely looking forward to that and seeing these grow. I think I should have a little bit more time to knit this morning after I finish recording here. But I do have some jobs I need to do this afternoon. So we'll see how much knitting gets done. And then this morning I woke up much earlier than usual and decided to get up. And so I did do the cuff on one of my hollyberry socks. And I'm just going to knit these stockinette, so they'll be perfect for working on this evening. It is appy night here. Friday nights, my husband and I like to have a nice bottle of wine, and we do appetizers for dinner, and we just sit and sort of catch up, for the week. And so a plain sock is perfect for that kind of evening. I suspect we might watch a little bit more of the Beatles Get Back. We have last night we watched some. We've now finished parts 1 and 2, and we are trying to finish watching it up before the 10th of December, because that's when my free trial for Disney Plus runs out, and I don't intend to renew it. There's not much else on there that I'm dying to watch. So anyway, that's our plan for the evening, I think, is Happy Night, and then probably go watch a bit of that. So yes, plain stockinette knitting will be good for that. I may even cast on the second cuff, because I can just, do 2x2 rib really easily too. So that's what I've been up to. Oh yeah, I'm keeping my sweet fiber yarn in this project bag that I made, and with the trees down here, the wintry scene, I thought that was the perfect bag for those socks. And then if you've watched my regular podcast, you've seen what I call my ugly sweater bag, ugly Christmas sweater bag, just because it's knit fabric and, it's kind of like an ugly Christmas sweater. So this is what my hollyberry socks are living in. All right, that brings us to socks of the day. Yes, socks of the day. I decided that even though sock of the day sounds better to my ears, that socks do come in pairs, and every time I talk about them, I'm talking about them in the plural. So socks of the day it is. Unfortunately, my furnace has just kicked in, so there's going to be a bit of background noise, but I'm just going to roll with it. I don't think it's too distracting, or at least I hope not. I was thinking about how ironic it is that I actually have a segment featuring Christmas, holiday, winter-themed socks. I was never going to be a sock knitter, and then I discovered Magic Loop, and that changed everything. And for another, it never occurred to me to knit socks geared towards a holiday. And I would hear people who would talk about their Halloween socks or their Christmas socks, and it's something that honestly just never really spoke to me. And that is until I made a pair or two, and then I realized how fun it was to have socks devoted just to this time of year. Yesterday I was also thinking about how to proceed with the order in which I show you all the various socks. I had initially planned just to do it randomly. That's the way I wear them. I just pick them, whichever feels right for that day. But then I decided that I was going to show them from oldest to the most recently knit. And so I went ahead and thank heavens for Ravelry, because I was able to go back and see when I made all of these different pairs. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show them to you in the order in which they were knit. So my very first pair of Christmas socks, if you can call them that, I called way back in December of 2011 my "'Twas the Week Before Christmas" socks. And as my Ravelry project page indicates, I knit these in the week preceding and then following Christmas. And I had bought this yarn. It is Fleece Artist BFL sock in the Masala colorway, and I had intended to just knit a pair of plain stockinette socks with it, but I didn't like the way the colors were pooling. And I had recently listened to an episode of the Knit Picks podcast, and Kelly Petkin, who had run Knit Picks at that time and was doing a regular podcast, was talking about a pattern that she had come up with to break up the pooling in socks, and she described it on her episode. And I looked at my Ravelry project page. I said I thought it was episode 171, but I actually found on the Knit Picks website they still have all their backlog, and in fact they are still producing a Knit Picks podcast. Anyway, it was episode 170. So I went back and listened to that portion of it, and just to make sure I had the pattern right, because I had written it down on the on my project page, and I had. So if you're interested in knitting these socks, you can go look at my project page, which I will link below. And it really is an easy and effective way to break up pooling. And the socks look nice besides. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to say about these. Yeah, it's a 6-row pattern. So I'm going to bring these a little bit closer. Oh, I know, something else that I had remembered, and that I apparently had also written on my project page, is that when I knit these up, the way that these socks knit up reminded me of a Christmas sweater that my daughter had one year. And so that's kind of partly also why they got relegated to the Christmas sock bin. I used to wear these all the time, but now I just bring them out at Christmas. So here's a look at the pattern. You can see it's a combination of slipped stitches and then knit rows and a purl row. And it really does help break up the color pooling. One disadvantage of it, though, is because it does have purl rows, you do end up with kind of a jog where the pattern begins and ends on each round. But what I did, and what I've often done in that case, is I ended up knitting them. I probably did an extra row on one of them before I began the heel, so that they were mirror images of themselves, so I can wear them like this, so that, well, that would give me backwards feet. So maybe I'd wear them like this, but those jogs go on the inside of my leg so that they're not as noticeable. Not that anyone is looking at my leg. At this time of year, I'm wearing pants, and my socks are pretty well hidden inside my shoes or my slippers, or boots. But anyway, it just makes me feel better because that's just what I do. So I looked at a short row heel. I think Kelly did an afterthought heel on hers. But you can, put any kind of heel in there that you want. So anyway, those are my socks for day 2. And I am looking forward to putting them on because it's cold today. It's cold outside and it's a little bit cool in here too. So they're gonna feel good on my feet. We had some snow a couple of days ago, and what happens here in the sort of southwest corner of British Columbia is that our snow is often followed by rain, and then everything becomes a big slushy mess. But this time instead, we had some cooler air come in and settle over our area. And so the snow is still on the ground. We had some sunshine the day after it snowed and the next day, yesterday. So the street's all clear, the driveway's all clear, everything's melted on the pavement, but we still have snow blanketing everything, and we're supposed to get a little bit more snow sort of later, starting later this afternoon, carrying on into the evening and into the wee hours of the morning. But we're only supposed to get a few centimeters, a few inches, so shouldn't be too bad, just enough to maybe just look more wintry, which it definitely does out there. And unlike yesterday when we had blue sky and sunshine, today it is cloudy and it just looks a whole lot colder. Look around, is there anything else I need to talk about? I don't think so. So thank you for watching Vlogmas Day 2. Oh, I know, I did forget to mention something. Stay tuned at the very end of each episode, and every day you will catch a brief glimpse of me wiggling my toes in my socks of the day. So look forward to that. It's literally only, I think, about 10 seconds long. So thanks for watching Vlogmas Day 2. Have yourselves a great Friday, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.